welcome, John. Welcome, Johannes. Thanks for joining us.
Good to be here.
So let's get right in here. Some of your competitors out there are broadening their product offering. Trivago's stuck to hotels. When we've had this conversation, you say it's hotels all the way. John, you do have hotels, but pretty much you stick to flights as your core. So what else could you offer? Kick us off, John.
Well, we do actually do hotels. So when you look at our portfolio, about 80–90% of the people come to us to explore. They don't have an intention to book. Then 20% of those want to book a flight, and 70 or 80% of those people also need a hotel and a car. So we are expanding our portfolio. But on the other hand, we're airborne in flights, and so that's our core strength for now. Mm-hmm. But we will expand over time. But it's just a matter of time, I think. Especially with things like NDC, there's just a lot of work underway to be great in flights. So that's where we focus a lot as well. And
we'll touch on that a bit more later. So Johannes, you talk about deals, and again, we will talk about that more. But for example, data services, is that something that you look at providing?
So we are really thankful that hotel is such a big market, mm-hmm. and being focused on that and on the consumer's mind, being very clear on this proposition, we think comes with a big advantage. And that is a very cautious decision that we're not leaving that space. And there's, our investment goes into extending that brand and becoming better in the search experience, and then unveiling deals, as you said. Data services is nothing that excites us at this point.
Okay, fair enough. Now, one of the things you said on coming back to Trivago is wanting to get back to sort of fast iteration, experimentation, and we use in this industry terms like innovation, agile, sprint a lot, but what does it actually mean on a day-to-day basis with teams on the ground? Go ahead.
I think it's a question of how much do I want to see a signal that we're going into the right direction. And instead of having one big bet that I invest 3, 6, 12 months into, and then maybe see something in 6 months, and it is a hypothesis where I know most of the hypotheses turn out to be wrong. If we do 10 tests, it's 2 or 3 tests that really turn out to be positive. So the more things I'm testing on a very small scale, mm-hmm. It can be starting with a filter. We put new filters in our search results, and then you click the filters. They don't work yet. We tell them, thank you for the interest, stay tuned. So you do kind of a phantom test in order to find out, is there really potential? Are we solving a user problem here or not? And the more we do that at scale, the more we learn on where should we continue, which path should we continue. And us coming back, we have doubled the amount of tests we've run on our website. That was very important. We came back and said, what are micro bets that change the experience? And it is as simple as you click the hotel name, and instead of going to the hotel information, we sent you to the rates where you improve the comparison experience. So it's small changes that can make a big difference.
And John, I think you follow a similar philosophy. Does that mean now that the innovation in meta search just literally means small iterations, and that we're not going to have any sort of big boom type, what we would traditionally have thought of innovation?
Well, it depends on what you call big. So yes, we follow the same pattern, like customer research, testing and experimentation, and then we adapt the platform to make sure that you can sort of run these experiments quickly across the globe. So that's what we do, but there are some significant things in traveler land where you say they expect more from us, whether it's like, I just want to figure out where I want to go, or I want to get organized. I think the whole organization is still very hard around the trip. People are asking for special deals, but then proper special deals. They want to see what the total cost is. So there's just a lot of places where we can get better that are a significant amount of work. Is it big innovation, small innovation? I think when you look at the customer research, those are big items for people. They really think that should be solved.
Mm-hmm. And I think, what I've been hearing over the past couple of days at the conference is that generally it's going to be about small iteration. Nobody's seeing huge opportunity for huge innovation. I mean, would you agree with that generally?
Well, I tell my team, every day you got to make progress. So that's kind of the philosophy. But I think, for example, when we say things like, when we get to that on NDC, just to make NDC work and say, we have a special offer for you. That's a massive amount of work where you need to connect us with the partner, with the airline. You got to connect with your SEO. Those are like significant amounts of work. So yeah, you can call it like small increments, but it's something we have to get the whole industry behind to make it work.
Yeah, and you can break down a big project or a big thing that you want to do into small pieces, and then just track the progress on the way and understand whether you're still on the right track.
And would you, Johannes, say that there's any area in mesh search that's more in need of innovation? So say, is it the user experience? Is it the business model? Is it something else?
I think we are in the search space, and you'll very quickly get to AI and LLMs changing the game to some degree. We used to have a team of hundreds of people managing content, aggregating content, making sense out of content, getting translations. You know, you save a lot of time in doing that, so you're much faster. And then in the search experience, the question is how you innovate that and find a user experience that is actually better than what we have today. And I don't think it's a chatbot experience, because travel needs inspiration, it needs a visual experience, you need to see selection, and it's very limited in that space. But this needs bigger change. And how does this search box that we're seeing here, how can that look different in the future? And then what can we highlight about hotels that's really unique? So you show different room types, you show differences among hotels. And AI helps to reinvent that part.
And we'll dig in a little bit into the various initiatives in a minute or two. Now, going direct, you've dabbled in going direct at Skyscanner. And Johannes, you're currently developing, but you have said it's a much longer term play. John, do you have any advice to give to Johannes on trying to go direct?
Why we stopped our direct efforts?
Yeah.
Well, we had like the redirect, we had like facilitated, and we had direct, like transact with Skyscanner. And basically, we are very good at sort of like the mid-funnel. We are very good at like the deal part, the selection part, and the mid-funnel. We're not good at the funnel. That's what partners do. Like an airline wants to show their product, an OTA wants to show their product. So who are we to basically think we're better than showing the product than the owner of the funnel is the owner of the product? And that was clearly the message from our partners that said, like, you know, you stick to like finding the customer, profile the customer, help them find the right choice. We'll give you the deal, and you bring the customer to us, and we'll close the deal. That was the feedback we got.
That's interesting. Would you anticipate that kind of conflict?
It's very similar of the route we have gone to. So we are very clear that we are meta search. We don't have a booking experience on Trivago. We've tried those avenues, and we learned the same, like the ones that do it at a very competitive level. It's very hard to beat their user experience and conversion rates. So very clear on that. And on the direct side, it's a question of where can they compete. If you have low intent traffic, we invest a lot into brand, get travelers at an early stage in the funnel, and sending them to a hotel page is a pretty early stage when a user might not be qualified. So it really depends on what type of traffic you have that actually can work with the independent hotels or with hotel chains.
Yeah. Okay, let's dig into generative AI and your various initiatives. John, Dream and Discover, search tool powered by generative artificial intelligence, beta across Australia, India, Singapore. What have you learned so far? What's the traveler, what's the kind of behavior?
It's the behavior is basically, there's a couple of things. One is, it's still very unknown, but it does convert better. And people like to play with the toys, basically.
Yeah.
But that's what we learn. So if we see it very much as an engagement and a learning tool, we really got to figure out now what it's going to look like in the future. So basically, for the people who don't know, what we built is the following. Sort of like, I want to go to a place where it's sunny, I can swim, and my dog likes it. And then it comes back with like 3 locations. So what's the best place to drink beer in France, which is kind of unusual because they drink wine. So. And that's what people play with, and we get a lot of responses from that. We learn a ton on how people are going to interact with the system. What we also did learn is, for the people in the room, is like it's quite expensive. So you want to be careful, like, to throw out like a massive initiative, because it runs like, before you know, it's like goes in the 100,000s or 200,000s or $1 million.
In terms of developers? In terms
no, in terms of usage.
Right.
It's like the usage.
It's on the servers, kind of.
Yeah, so you can build something quite nice with like 1-2 squads, like 3 months. That's what I think our plugins took, sort of nighttime work. But if you want to build a proper solution, you can build also 1 or 2 squads, like 3 months, 6 months, to the iterations. Again, testing. But so it doesn't take a big effort on the investment side for people, but it does. You have to be careful with the total cost of the thing.
And Johannes, I know you've been using AI across the business for a long time, but specifically on generative AI, your view is that it needs to go, again, across the whole business, not just top of funnel, trip planning, not just customer service, but genuinely throughout all of operations.
Yeah, it's very impressive. Our next TV spot, for instance, we are leveraging AI to localize the TV spot. So we will have a Mr. Trivago that will be there in many markets. We used to have 35 Mr. and Mrs. Trivago across the globe in the different countries, different actors explaining
Real
the proposition.
people.
Real people. It's still a real person, but it's a localized person where you have a lower cost by 10x. So there's really leverage in many different aspects that we are trying to unveil, and we motivate the team, and that's a cultural thing. And I think the biggest challenge for teams, for companies, is do the teams embrace it, and do they keep up with the complexity and speed that is happening? And I think that, for me, from a cultural perspective, are we able to get 650 people embracing it and thinking about their use cases in their day-to-day work and finding ways to do it? I think that's a very big challenge, but exciting as well.
What are your views on how generative AI will change search? Because Johannes, again, you've talked about the competitive environment and what you can do about it, but do you see a big impact from generative AI in search?
It will be interesting to watch where this is going. I think as I see the chatbots right now, I struggle to see that this is a better user experience. If you would have a voice and you know the hotel and you can say, book the hotel for me, I like this in this room. So you have very savvy in where you go, what hotel you go. There is a simple experience that an AI assistant can do that for you. But if you explore travel, if you explore destinations, hotels, I think you need a visual experience. And I think the brand is a big advantage of getting people to start this journey on our website and then changing the way you search. Yeah? And we think around a free search environment similar to what you explained. But then instead of going into a conversation, we show very relevant hotels and try to highlight what was in your question and where the hotels deliver on that.
And John, given what OpenAI announced just last week about bots, you must be preparing for that.
Yeah, yes, but we're also careful, because like I said, you can jump on this massively and spend a lot of resources on it, while there's so many core problems not solved for travelers. So yes, we have a plugin, like we have our team that does experimentation on AI. We did a lot of machine learning already in search. It's not like this came up a year ago. This has been going on for 10 years.
Sure.
So we are very used to doing this. So we're trying to find a balance between continue to improve the core of the product to get better search results, to be more relevant, to get better connections with partners, with airlines, to get better SEO, all those things, and then layer in AI where it makes sense on top of what we already do. And you can jump on a lot of things and be cool, but if it's really impacting the traveler, that's the question you got to ask yourself.
Is it difficult to hold teams back, given that this is much more democratized than, say, blockchain?
No, you got to keep them focused because if you're you have to apply it. Like if you're in engineering, you can say across engineering, you can apply the tools to become more productive. Okay, go. And then you have to be very specific where you want to test and where you want to make progress. And if you make progress, then you can say we're going to go to the next place. But you got to keep, it's like managing your team. But in general, like with engineers, they tend to be interested in shiny stuff anyway. So I think managing the discipline of making sure you deliver impact, you experiment, you test, you roll out, you experiment, you test, you roll out. That is something that is important in general and not just for AI.
And we try to give everybody space to explore their curiosity. You can run hackathons, run project teams where they are experimenting with stuff. So I think you cannot suppress curiosity. So everybody in the engineering space or in many other spaces, creating room for that unveils a lot of energy because people suddenly think in different dimensions, which can turn out to be very positive for the company as well.
So giving them space, but kind of a boxed space.
Yeah, or a time boxed or frame about what.
Yeah, we have this slogan like, "Tell me my box and I'll smash it." but you got to make sure you
there
play
has
with
to
the
be
box.
some parameters.
Yeah,
right?
otherwise it's all over the place.
Yeah.
It becomes unmanageable, and then the platform is no longer consistent, and then you can't scale your experiments because then you have an experiment in one market on one platform, and we're in 100 markets. So we need to have a process that we can scale everything quickly across the world.
Yeah, okay. I want to talk a little bit about marketing. You are investing heavily in brand again, and Skyscanner's already got quite a strong brand. trivago did, probably more so before the pandemic, and you stopped spending, which made sense. But what I wanted to say is, how are your investments bringing in new customers, younger customers, more social generations? Go ahead.
So I think TV is a very essential channel that works well for us, and I think beyond that you have other channels like social media and so on.
Yeah.
And we're experimenting with that, but it's a matter of how do you reach people at an efficient cost basis. And we just also know that young people travel less, they have less budget, so if it's expensive and we know there's less money on the table, it's a question where you invest. And the older generation is very good. They like to travel, and it's 35 plus that we are very happy with and that we cater with our product in terms of simple experience, great deals you could find, and I think that remains our focus. At the same time, we run a big TikTok campaign this year, and trying to figure out, and there's again testing.
Yeah.
And we do little competitions of who does the best formats and creatives in TikTok. So also excitement, curiosity around those formats.
Yeah.
And we'll figure out how big this can become.
Do you worry at all? I mean, I ask my kids what brands stick out in travel that they think about, and they don't say some of the brands that we might think about. Does that concern?
So what do they say?
They say that they go for inspiration on TikTok.
Yeah.
So they definitely don't start on a website that we might think about.
Soon
Although my son did, I have to say, he did mention Skyscanner. So
Thank you.
so yeah, you must be doing similar with that.
No, we're quite different on the TV side. We do very little TV. We really look at the mix, but we started very early on in our sort of life. Gareth Williams, the founder, with SEO.
Yeah.
We build up and we're very strong on the brand. We value the trust. So this whole notion of a trustworthy brand with great deals, where you can find those great deals, and we help people find great deals. That's kind of our asset. And then we promote this in SEO, a little bit in SEM, and we push the app, and that's working. That flywheel is working for us. Now, of course, we now shifted to things like social media, TikTok, and what have you. So that's also part of the mix. So we continue to optimize the mix, to grow the mix, but we're very light on TV. We're experimenting a bit in Canada at the moment, to sort of I would say look over the fence in the US. But the key thing is that we have a very broad mix where SEO is way heavier than TV, and I don't see us getting heavy in TV anytime soon.
So we've talked about some of the challenges with Google from a search marketing perspective, but what about the fact that Google is continuously evolving, continuously improving its products? I mean, there must be pressure there as well, John, because you can book flights on Google, you can book hotels on Google. Yeah.
I think they're so big that there's always space for us.
Right.
It's got to be clear what our value to the traveler is, and our value is this sort of help find great deals, make it easy, explore, have this emotional connection, have this brand connection, and we continue to grow based on that promise. We're 25% bigger than in 2019. Our share of traffic is about comparable with Google. Google Flight, of course. So we're like only the paranoid survive, but we have to assume that we can carve out a space that is actually a specific audience that is just big to be successful, but there's space for everybody.
Right. Would you agree with that? Because it is tough out there. They are constantly bringing out, ways to book on maps, more content, more products. Is it just constant barrage of sort of pressure?
I think competition is healthy and makes us move fast and do better. And I think in Google we will see headwinds in Europe where they need to reduce their self-preferencing in their search results.
Right.
So I think if we have a fair field where we can compete with a product on a level playing field, then we are very happy for the competition. And we invested more than 2 billion in our brand in the last 15 years, and that is an asset we are carrying. And I think that's very good that we have not been hugely dependent on it. It's important to drive volumes, and it's great, an important channel for us to get relevant customers. But on the side, we want brand that is actually the most relevant channel for us.
So high hopes for brand, and then the legislation as well, hopefully.
Fair playing field.
Yeah, okay. Are there opportunities, John, in, similar to Kayak, what it's doing in the business travel market? Would you see any play there, what it's doing with Block Sky?
Yeah, funny enough, we started to test to use Skyscanner as our own business travel platform. But I don't see us moving into like proper business travel with all the expense management, and they're just not us. We're a consumer meta search media platform. That's us, and we want to be very good at that. And there's so much work to be done. Like I could probably, we have today 1,400 people, 800 engineers, so it's very heavy on engineering. I have ideas for like another 200 or 300, which I can't get to. So. I would love to work down my list first before I get there.
Yeah, okay. So we've got a couple of minutes left. I just wanted to talk about kind of content strategy in general. So from a point of view of Skyscanner, how are you staying relevant in terms of airlines developing their NDC strategies?
I think NDC is interesting. I think a lot of panels have taken place and have talked about NDC. For me, this is the moment where now is the moment that the value of NDC is starting to show, which means like you can have personalized offers. So we're working with companies like Amadeus to really bring this capability of like personalized offers to market. And then we were talking this morning even to another airline and say, hey, if we tell you this is a family of 4 traveling from London to India, they likely need an extra bag. So instead of dropping the price, you might offer an extra bag. If we can get there, we have an extremely powerful tool that drives value for the traveler and drives value for the airline, and helps us basically make more money. We'll need people like Amadeus to lean in, and they're helping. We need airlines to lean in. There's going to be a lot of work to be done on the data, because we need like data back and forward between. So we're all building all these things. That goes back to my point. I think that's the core of what we do, which is like serve the traveler better with great flight offers. So NDC was a challenge in the beginning. I think it's starting to become a blessing. But we have to do a lot of work to turn it into value for the traveler, working with Amadeus, working with airlines, and push this thing forward. Okay. And working with our partners, basically. And
similarly, as we just finish up here, Johannes, something like attribute-based selling, I draw a sort of parallel for NDC with airlines and attribute-based selling for hotels. Is that something that you could see great opportunity for?
So adding attributes to our user experience has been important in the last couple of years. And you come to breakfast, you come to free cancellation and so on. Yeah. And now you have hotel chains that want to convey more. What do I get as part of my loyalty program or big...
and more services, spa bookings and all of the things that...
Exactly, and whatever we get technically, we can attach to a deal and then give you more value for money wherever we identify more value for money.
All right.
And that's at the center of what we're doing.
Okay. Johannes, John, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you.